Have you ever felt like you're living the same day over and over again? Different morning, same frustration. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're just stuck in a mental loop that no one ever taught you how to break. Your mind, the very thing that could set you free, has become the cage. Because here's the truth. Every success, every failure, every breakthrough you've ever had started with a thought. But most people, they never learn how to think with discipline. They overthink. They react. They scroll endlessly, chasing dopamine and losing direction. And if that's been you, I get it. But it ends here. Because I'm about to show you how to train your mind to work for you, not against you. The most successful people on this planet, they don't think randomly. They think with purpose, precision, and power. They master their mind before they master anything else. And you can too. If you're ready to build a mindset that leads to real control, real growth, and real freedom, comment 9 below, and don't forget to subscribe for more breakthrough content. Let's train your mind. Let's change your life. In the next minutes, I will walk you through 7 strong thinking disciplines that will change the way you deal with opportunities, problems, and life in general. It's time to get right in. The first step is to train your brain to achieve your goals. Comparable to a computer is your mind. It operates according to the programs you set it up with. Tossing in pessimism, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs can only lead to a life of hesitancy, disappointment, and annoyance. A complete paradigm shift is possible, nevertheless. With the correct mental software, optimistic beliefs, concentrated thought, and deliberate decision-making. The encouraging news is that you are in control of your own mind and may alter your programming at will. Our environment, family, culture, schooling, and life events begin to mold our thinking the minute we are born. There are positive influences, but there are also plenty that cause us to question ourselves, feel afraid, and believe things that restrict our potential. Consider it. Just think about how many times others have told you things like, "That's impossible," or "People like us don't succeed." Despite their seemingly innocuous nature, these remarks have a way to seep into our subconscious and influence our behavior without our knowledge. If you want to train your mind to think more clearly, you must first become aware of and remove the mental obstacles that you have internalized. Listen to your inner dialogue first. Do you find yourself telling yourself things like, "I can't do this," "I'm not competent," or "I lack the necessary skills"? Rather than being absolute truths, these ideas are only rewirable patterns of cognition. Because of a property known as neuroplasticity, the brain may undergo remodeling at any age. One may teach their mind to think differently in the same way one trains a muscle. Affirmations and imagery are powerful tools for mental reprogramming. These mental training methods have been used by the most accomplished people in history, spanning from innovators to sports. Take Muhammad Ali as an example. He would say, "I am the greatest," over and over again, even before he won a title. Instead of being conceited, he was just teaching himself to believe in his abilities. You may train your subconscious to believe strong, optimistic phrases if you repeat them to yourself every day. Do not say things like, "I am not good at this." Instead, focus on the fact that you are learning and becoming better at it every day. Stop telling yourself, "I'll never succeed." Instead, remind yourself that success is inevitable if you keep improving. Eliminating the kinds of negative thoughts and feelings that feed into self-doubt is another important step. Look closely at what you eat on a regular basis. Do you find yourself engulfed in depressing discussions, poisonous social media, and news stories on a daily basis? If that's the case, cleaning up your head is a must. Everything you experience in life is a product of the concepts you let into your head. Replace negative, stagnant thoughts with constructive, growth-oriented media, like books, podcasts, and discussions. Furthermore, it is critical to surround oneself with the correct individuals. Your personality is shaped by the 5 individuals you spend the most of your time with. People who are always down on themselves, self-doubting, and content with mediocrity will eventually start to think and act that way. But if you surround yourself with driven, methodical thinkers, you'll learn to think like them. Get involved in conversations that push you to think more critically and creatively. Read up on influential people and look for mentors. Doing a thought audit is a great first step in retraining your brain. For a whole day, jot down each and all unpleasant thoughts that come to mind. Before you turn in for the day, go over them and ask yourself whether you would tell your closest friend this. Why are you telling yourself no if that's not the case? Substitute more powerful beliefs with these pessimistic ideas. Although it may take some time, retraining your brain is an investment in yourself that will pay off in the end. You create your destiny with every notion you entertain. You can train your mind to think more positively, eliminate negativity, and set yourself up for success if you want to do so. For the simple reason that your life changes when you alter your perspective. Second, the significance of concentration. The capacity to concentrate is a rare talent in a society when there are so many diversions. Notifications are always vying for our attention in our modern day. The convenience of instantaneous entertainment on social media keeps us glued to our screens. The end product poses a risk. It's bringing up a generation that has problems focusing for extended periods of time, not getting down to the nitty-gritty, and failing to accomplish lofty objectives. But let me tell you the reality. Even the most gifted people can't realize their greatest potential if they aren't focused. One of the most valuable abilities you can cultivate is the ability to focus on what is genuinely important, since this will lead you to mastery. A common thread running through the lives of history's most accomplished individuals is their mastery of sustained mental concentration. As an example, consider Nikola Tesla. His ability to focus intently on his creations for long periods of time without distractions earned him a reputation as an innovator. Long before he ever built one, he could see the finished product in his head. He was able to change the world with innovations that have lasting effects because he was laser-focused. In contrast, the typical individual nowadays can't resist the need to check their phone every 5 minutes. One cannot miss the distinction. Breakthroughs are made by concentrated brains. Ignorant people don't get much done. Mental noise is the #1 distraction. Being overwhelmed by the number of things vying for your attention. Consider it. Have you ever begun an essential activity only to find yourself engrossed in social media, checking emails, or moving between tasks? Productivity is ruined by this phenomenon known as context flipping. Your brain requires a little more time to refocus every time you change your focus. Multitasking may lower productivity by as much as 40%, according to studies. That implies you are not making the most of your abilities if you're often switching gears. For that reason, what is the best way to teach your brain to concentrate? Getting rid of interruptions is the first stage. Establish a setting that promotes profound focus. Put your phone in another room if it's always ringing while you're working. Use headphones with noise-canceling capabilities, or choose a more peaceful area to work if ambient noise is a problem. Utilize applications that obstruct distracting websites while working if social media is one of your weaknesses. Your capacity to concentrate is greatly influenced by your surroundings. To increase your chances of success, eliminate potential sources of distraction before they may derail your focus. Working in concentrated sprints with little rests in between is the Pomodoro technique, another effective approach. The process is as follows. Put in 25 to 50 minutes of uninterrupted effort on a single project. After each session, give yourself a brief 5-minute pause to recharge. An extended 15 to 30-minute rest should be taken after each set of 4 sessions before the next set begins. In order to prevent mental exhaustion, this technique teaches your brain to focus intently for long periods of time. In order to stay focused and productive all day long, this method is used by many great achievers. Having a clear focal point is also essential for disciplined thinking. Busy folks seldom get anything done. They are so burned out from responding to emails and performing meaningless work that they never get around to achieving their most important objectives. Use the 80-20 rule to stay out of this jam. Achieve 80% of your goals by concentrating on 20% of your efforts. Determine which actions will get you closer to your long-term objectives. I need to know how to best use my time right now. Am I moving forward or just occupying my time? The time of successful individuals is not wasted on insignificant matters. To avoid being distracted, they prioritize their tasks and learn to say no when asked. One of the most successful investors of all time, Warren Buffett, once provided an easy but effective method for staying focused. Write down 25 objectives, rank them from most important to least, and then dismiss the others. Why? The greatest obstacle to concentration is not mere diversions, but rather the excellent chances that obstruct the route to the great ones. You may train your brain to concentrate intensely by practicing mindfulness and mental conditioning. Meditation and mental imagery help athletes, Navy SEALs, and top performers focus. Meditation, even for only 5 minutes a day, may help you concentrate better, feel less anxious, and have more mastery over your thoughts. Lastly, practicing focused attention entails giving your undivided attention to the task at hand. Engage fully in whatever it is you're doing, whether it's working, exercising, or spending time with family and friends. Physically present, but mentally elsewhere. Most individuals live a life of constant mental diversion. You will not only become better at what you do, but you will also enjoy life more when you learn to give your undivided attention to everything you do. It takes practice, not natural ability, to maintain concentration. You can educate your mind to be more disciplined, and the more you do it, the simpler it becomes. There are a lot of things that might divert your attention, but the key to success is learning to concentrate. Make a firm commitment to the transformative potential of focused, in-depth thought, and put your mind to work by training it to ignore interruptions. It is crucial to your success. Emotional discipline is the third point. Becoming an expert responder. Your feelings have great influence. Either they will propel you to success, or they will steer you towards failure. When under control, emotions have the power to inspire greatness, cement bonds, and test boundaries. However, if they are not managed, they have the potential to make you overly emotional, quick to respond, and susceptible to outside influences. One of the most important parts of being mentally competent is learning to control your emotions. You can't escape letting fleeting emotions dictate long-term choices if you don't have it. Consider instances when you made decisions based only on your emotions. Maybe you said or did something out of anger that you later came to deeply regret. Or maybe you were too afraid to seize a life-altering chance. Even though these responses are normal, you can't let your emotions dictate your behavior until you learn to regulate them. Fortunately, self-control is more of a learned ability than a natural one. Similar to concentration and IQ, it is something that can be honed and improved with practice. The ability to control one's emotions includes practicing self-control by recognizing when to act and when to wait. Some people have trouble controlling their emotions, and as a result, they react hastily without considering the potential outcomes. Feelings like wrath, annoyance, or enthusiasm control their decisions. However, the impact of pausing is known to those who have mastered emotional restraint. Instead of reacting on the fly, they take a few deep breaths, gather all the relevant facts, and then determine the best course of action. Your relationships, decision-making, and personal development may be completely transformed by just one tiny behavior. Abraham Lincoln exemplifies emotional mastery. Lincoln used to often vent his frustrations in angry letters he would write early in his career. Nevertheless, he refrained from dispatching them and instead reserved judgment until he had more information. After his feelings had calmed down, he would often decide it wasn't essential to respond and never send them again. Avoid making hasty choices by using this easy method. Write down your feelings, but don't act on them right away. Distancing oneself from fleeting emotions and focusing one's attention on the long haul is another important part of emotional discipline. A lot of individuals fall short because they let their emotions dictate their judgments instead of thinking about the broader context. An entrepreneur may put off completing a crucial assignment because they lack motivation, while a fitness enthusiast may forego a gym session because they aren't in the mood to work out. When it comes to making decisions, the difference between ordinary and successful individuals is emotional discipline. Successful people act on commitment, not emotions. Even while they know that motivation isn't always on point, they know that discipline is something they can manage at all times. Mental reframing, or learning to see problems in a new perspective, is a great approach to develop emotional discipline. Those who are emotionally disciplined regard setbacks not as excuses to give up, but as opportunities to grow. They don't let themselves become discouraged by temporary failures, but rather see them as opportunities to grow. According to the famous basketball coach John Wooden, the people who make the best of the way things turn out are the ones who ultimately benefit. Changing your viewpoint in this way may help you deal with stress, conquer challenges, and maintain focus on what's important. Managed exposure to pain may help you develop emotional self-control. Avoidance of challenging events is a contributing factor to people's lack of emotional control. However, the reality is that your resilience grows in direct proportion to the amount of challenging situations you face. This is why the Navy SEALs and other elite military forces train under very stressful conditions. They learn to maintain composure in high-stakes situations. To become emotionally strong, you don't need special training, but you may begin by forcing yourself to do things you're afraid of doing, like taking a cold shower, talking about sensitive topics, or refusing to give in when you question yourself. Mindful breathing is another tactic for emotional mastery. Remind yourself to manage your breath if you feel overwhelmed, irritated, or nervous. The neurological system receives a message of control when you take slow, deep breaths, permitting you to make logical decisions instead of impulsive ones. Breathing exercises help many people function at their best, from elite athletes to chief executive officers. Finally, keep in mind that working on your emotional discipline does not include numbing your feelings. It implies being able to comprehend them and handle them efficiently. The dangers of behaving impulsively are matched by those of ignoring or suppressing one's feelings. The most important thing is to recognize your emotions, figure out why they exist, and then act accordingly. Think about what this feeling is attempting to tell you, rather of telling yourself, "I shouldn't feel this way. How can I provide a helpful response?" One of the best qualities you can cultivate is emotional mastery. Stronger connections, more rational decision-making, and composure under duress are all possible outcomes. You become unstoppable once you master the art of controlling your emotions. You will not be deterred from your course by any transitory emotion, criticism, or setback. Learning to control your emotions, rather than allowing them control you, is the key to success in life. Fourthly, planning forward. With champion-level planning, going the extra mile isn't the only way to succeed. It's all about being efficient. It is believed by many that if they just keep at it, eventually they will succeed. Still, they can't seem to break out of their yearly rut. Can you tell me what's lacking? It involves planning ahead. Without a well-defined strategy, even the most dedicated individuals might lose years of progress pursuing irrelevant goals. What differentiates the unsuccessful from the successful is the ability to think strategically. It's being able to see ahead, foresee potential problems, and make rational judgments that get you closer to your objectives. Think about chess players. Thinking ahead even a few moves isn't enough for a grandmaster. They plan their movements ahead of time, considering how each move would affect the final result. Life follows the same rule. Strategic thinkers plan ahead, rather than just responding to events as they unfold. Their focus is on the future. What sets them apart from others who blindly follow the crowd is their exceptional capacity for foresight and preparation. Napoleon Bonaparte is a model of strategic thinking at its finest. His valor in battle was just one reason he was a great commander. He had exceptional timing and could foresee his opponent's actions, allowing him to counter them with ease. His extraordinary military success was the result of his proactive mindset, which allowed him to look ahead while others were reactive. Regarding your objectives, the same logic holds. Life will force you to go in a certain direction if you don't have a plan. So, the question becomes, how do you train yourself to think strategically? Knowing where you want to go is the first step. The majority of individuals go through life aimlessly. They get out of bed, go to work, deal with challenges as they arise, and pray that everything will miraculously fall into place. However, a roadmap cannot be developed in the absence of a final destination. Picture yourself attempting a cross-country drive without a compass or even a basic understanding of where you are going. Lost on the incorrect routes, you would squander several hours. That's the way most individuals go about their lives, reacting to the challenges they face, rather than planning ahead. The solution is to spell out your idea in great detail. Determine your definition of success by looking 5, 10, or 20 years into the future. In order to get there, what are the necessary milestones? In what ways may I be unprepared for the possible roadblocks that may slow me down? Doing this is the mark of a great strategist. Aiming isn't all they do. They foresee potential problems and come up with answers beforehand. Problems don't catch them off guard. Rather, they're well prepared. The ability to reverse engineer a successful strategy is another potent tool for strategic thinking. Starting with the end in mind, rather than stating, I want to be successful, is the better approach. Jump right into the final product. Tell me where you aspire to be. Figure out what you need to do to get there. Reduce those stages into manageable, doable activities. Include such activities in your weekly and monthly plans. By using this route, you may avoid ambiguity and be certain that each step you take advances you towards your objective. If you want to establish a company but don't know how to accomplish it, you may reverse engineer the process instead of just winging it. Do some market research. Find a niche that may be lucrative. Construct a basic service or prototype. Try it out on actual consumers. Extend the successful strategies. Every action is deliberate and planned, reducing wasted time and effort. When individuals fail to concentrate on the big picture and instead deal with the little issues that crop up along the way, they are essentially locked in survival mode, which prevents them from ever reaching their objectives. When faced with a task that might derail their progress toward their goal, successful individuals either automate it or delegate it, concentrating on what matters most, or the 80-20 rule. The 20% of efforts that provide 80% of the outcomes is their main goal. Being flexible is a prerequisite for strategic thinking. Unfortunately, not everything goes as to plan, and it's okay. The secret is to always be evaluating and changing your strategy. Staying steadfastly on an unsuccessful course of action is counterproductive. Discover a new and improved approach. While others get mired in routines, those with the ability to think strategically remain ahead thanks to their adaptability. As a last point, a good approach entails acting rationally and not emotionally. People often come to regret hasty judgments that they took in a moment of exhilaration, fear, or frustration. Thinkers with a long-term perspective take their time, collect data, and act strategically to achieve their goals. In the long run, they don't allow fleeting feelings influence their actions. Effort is meaningless. What matters is the ability to strategize, carry out, and adjust to changing circumstances. Planning ahead is essential if you want to accomplish remarkable things. Your life will begin to unfold with more precision, focus, and meaning the moment you make strategic thinking a habit. The fifth point is mental toughness, inculcating the habit of perseverance. Your mettle will be challenged throughout life. Difficulties, defeats, and losses are unavoidable regardless of your intelligence, ability, or level of preparation. The true test is not whether you will encounter challenges, but rather how you will handle them. Your mental fortitude will prove to be your most valuable weapon in this situation. The capacity to persevere, change one's perspective, and pick oneself up after falling down is a key component of mental resilience. Even the most competent people crumble when faced with adversity if they lack resilience. With it, regular people may do remarkable feats. Consider the most accomplished individuals who have ever lived. How easy and painless was their journey. In no world, a history of adversity, setbacks, and uncertainty precedes every great accomplishment. However, there is a clear distinction between those who achieve their goals and those who fail. People who win don't give up while others give up. Thomas Edison is one of the most inspiring figures of perseverance. Over 10,000 times, he failed before he invented the light bulb. He famously said, I have not failed when questioned about his shortcomings. I've just discovered 10,000 ineffective methods. This kind of thinking is what it means to be resilient, accepting setbacks as opportunities for growth rather than setbacks themselves. Once individuals try something and fail, they usually give up. Those who train their minds to be resilient, however, keep going until they succeed. What is the secret to developing unbreakable mental resilience? Mastering your internal monologue is the first point. Whether you choose to persevere or give up when things become tough is a function of the internal dialogue you have with yourself. This won't work if you constantly tell yourself negative things. I lack the necessary strength. There's no need in even trying. With time, you'll be able to persuade yourself to stop. Yet strong individuals find new ways to look at adversity. They look at challenges not as barriers to progress, but as chances to learn and improve. Instead of complaining that something is too difficult, they focus on how it is strengthening them. They say, "I'll figure it out," instead, than "I can't handle this." Embracing discomfort is another important component of mental resilience. Expecting success to be easy is a major reason why many individuals stop up. However, enduring pain is the only certain way to develop. Training your mind to become tougher is the result of every effort you put in, no matter how little, like getting out of bed early, exercising even when you're not in the mood, or facing your fears head-on. Known for their extraordinary mental toughness, Navy SEALs adhere to a simple premise known as the 40% rule. Even when you feel like giving up, you're only using 40% of your potential. Your mind will attempt to give up far before your body does. That's the lesson. The key to resilience is learning to tune out that critic and keep going, even when things become tough. Having a growth mindset is a great approach to strengthen resilience. Seek for challenges instead of running away from them. Your brain becomes more adaptable the more you subject it to regulated stress, such as taking cold showers, working out vigorously, or learning new, challenging abilities. This is the rationale for the extraordinary measures used by world-class athletes, business people, and military commanders. Resilience is not innate. It is a skill that may be developed through practice. Refraining from taking setbacks personally is another critical component of resilience. The belief that one's failure is a measure of one's value causes many to give up. However, mistakes are never about you. It's just numbers. There is a lesson in every failure. You learn from every error. And there is an opportunity to grow with every difficulty. My career shot total exceeds 9,000. As legendary basketball player Michael Jordan once said, 26 times out of over 300 games, I've lost. When it was my turn to shoot the winning shot, I've missed. All through my life, I've been unsuccessful. That is the secret of my success. Those who suffered the most setbacks but persisted are the ones who ultimately triumphed. A solid why is also necessary for resilience. Your motivation to keep going must outweigh your temptation to give up when the going gets rough. People who are motivated by a mission never give up because of this. Whether it's taking care of your loved ones, making a personal statement, or fulfilling a long-held ambition, knowing your why is what drives you on, even when inspiration fails. Last but not least, be among individuals who are resilient. Spending a lot of time with certain individuals makes you more like them. People who are always finding fault, finding reasons not to do things, and giving up too readily will eventually start to think and act that way. However, if you surround yourself with ambitious, dogged people, You will feel inspired to keep going even when the going gets rough. What really differentiates the achievers from the mediocre is the ability to bounce back from setbacks. It's not a matter of brains, skill, or chance. It's being able to press on even when your body and mind beg you to quit. Reframe failures as opportunities for growth. Never let setbacks define you, and make it a habit to push through uncomfortable situations. Because quitting is the only certain way to never try at all. Sixthly, being an expert decision maker. The choices you make now will have lasting consequences. Your life is built up over time by the little decisions you make, such what you eat, how you spend your time, and who you surround yourself with. Your fate is in the hands of the major decisions you make in life, including those concerning your profession, your relationships, and your finances. The majority of individuals struggle with making clear and confident judgments. Some people are too timid to seize chances when they arise, while others act on impulse and come to deeply regret their decisions. The capacity to make swift, well-considered judgments under pressure is, nevertheless, what really distinguishes the successful from the average. When it comes to making decisions, people might either think quickly or slowly. One definition of fast thinking is the capacity to act instinctively and make snap judgments under duress. To think slowly is to do extensive research, make detailed plans, and consider all of the possible outcomes before making a final decision. Being able to switch between quick and slow thinking is a skill that will help you become a great decision maker. Fighter pilots are exemplary in their ability to make split-second decisions. They can't afford to second-guess themselves at every turn. Their reactions must be lightning fast, and they must rely on their gut feelings. Life or death hangs in the balance of their split-second judgments. Conversely, slow thinking is essential for business strategists and investors, because even a little mistake might result in millions of dollars in losses. They meticulously study patterns, weigh risks, and plot their actions. Putting one's thinking cap on the incorrect finger is the most common error individuals do. Putting off analysis-based judgments or giving too much thought to urgent circumstances that call for action. The question then becomes, how can one train their thoughts to always choose wisely? Knowing when to go with your gut and when to take a step back and think things through is the starting point. Quick choices are helpful when you're well-versed in the subject and can trust your gut. When there's nothing to lose by acting quickly, the stakes are low, or we don't have much time to think it over. If the decision will have far-reaching effects, it is best to take your time making it. When you don't have all the facts and might use some guidance, or when there are a lot of complicated trade-offs and risks involved in the choice. When individuals think about a subject too much, they end up paralyzed by analytical paralysis and never take any action. People often act in this way when they are too nervous to make a mistake. However, being undecided is often more disastrous than picking the incorrect option. Missed chances cannot be recouped, but errors may be fixed. Adhering to the 80% rule is the key to escaping analytical paralysis. Proceed with the decision-making process if you possess 80% of the necessary knowledge. Doing nothing happens when you wait for absolute confidence. Task prioritization. According to priority and urgency is another effective decision-making technique. Decisions concerning little matters often consume people's attention, causing them to ignore more pressing matters. Pay attention to the important choices that will advance your life, rather than the meaningless ones. This change of perspective will save you from wasting time and effort on things that aren't beneficial to your success in the long run. Eliminating emotions is a crucial part of making disciplined decisions, yet it often gets ignored. When emotions like fear, excitement, or irritation take over, a lot of poor judgments are made. Decisions with money are a good example. When the market falls, investors sell their assets at a loss because they are scared. They may also be too enthusiastic and blindly follow trends without doing their homework. Remorse follows emotionally driven decision-making. The easiest approach to stay out of this jam is to take a deep breath and step back before making a life-altering choice. Get some distance, get some sleep on it, or talk to someone you trust to get their take on it. Think beyond the present if you want to be a successful decision-maker. The October 10th 10 rule is one practical approach. What do I think I'll think about this choice in 10 minutes? What will my opinion be in a month's time? I wonder how I'll feel about it in a decade. This easy task will make you think about how your decisions will play out in the future, rather than just in the here and now. In conclusion, the only way to become an expert decision-maker is to reflect on and gain wisdom from your failures. With every wrong choice comes a chance to do better. Put your feelings of shame and guilt aside and instead think on what went wrong, how to avoid similar mistakes in the future, and what you can learn from the error. When people are afraid to make a mistake, they tend to do nothing. However, progress is constant for those who reflect on their decisions, alter their thinking, and put what they've learned into practice. Your life is what you make it to be, ultimately. Make decisions that are in line with your long-term goal by training your mind to balance instinct with reasoning, detaching emotions from the process and staying focused. Being able to make well-considered judgments when necessary and swiftly when necessary is a talent that will set you apart from the others and lead you to success. 7th, the practice of continuous education throughout one's life. You need to exercise your mind constantly to keep it sharp, just like any muscle. Your mind is your biggest asset. Those who refuse to adapt to a changing world will inevitably fall behind. Whether in business, science, athletics, or the arts, the most accomplished individuals of all time have a habit of constantly expanding their knowledge. Knowledge is not something you get once. It is something you have to keep seeking. And that is what they realized. Still, the majority of individuals erroneously believe that education is complete after they graduate. Once they find a job after graduating, they gradually cease putting money into their personal development. They begin to question why they are unable to go on in life as their thoughts remain fixed. Your current level of intelligence has little to do with your future success. What matters is your willingness to study and put that knowledge into practice. Leonardo da Vinci is an excellent example of someone who continues to study throughout their life. In addition to being an artist, he had the skills of an engineer, scientist, philosopher, and inventor. His interests were wide-ranging, and he never settled into a single profession. He was always challenging the boundaries of his knowledge, and his ideas, experiments, and discoveries occupied hundreds of pages. He realized that his ability to make remarkable things happen was directly proportional to his level of knowledge. The difference between regular people and those who reach greatness is this attitude of insatiable curiosity. The majority of people's problems do not stem from a lack of educational opportunity, but rather from an absence of self-discipline. Nowadays, more knowledge is at our fingertips than in previous generations because of the internet. But the majority of individuals squander this opportunity by watching pointless TV shows instead of learning anything new. How one chooses to spend their time determines whether they progress or stay still. Is time spent arguing, watching reality TV, and browsing through social media taking up too much of your time? On the other hand, are you nourishing your intellect with thought-provoking reading, films, and conversations? You may sharpen or dull your intellect depending on the decision you make. Knowledge does not magically appear to someone who is self-disciplined in their learning. It is something they relentlessly pursue. Reading is a great strategy to encourage learning throughout your life. Every single successful person you look up to reads at least a little bit. Annually, Bill Gates reads around 50 novels. Every day, Warren Buffett reads for at least 5 hours. Even the world's busiest woman, Oprah Winfrey, has long acknowledged the role that books played in her rise to fame. Reading gives you access to the thoughts of the most influential people in history, which is why it is so powerful. You may get knowledge from others who have been where you are going, rather than having to learn everything the hard way. But there's more to learning than just reading a book. Implementing new knowledge is the key to personal development. A lot of individuals read about things but never do anything with what they've learned. Despite reading about fitness, they never really work out. Even if they don't really launch a firm, they study entrepreneurship. Despite hearing inspiring speeches, many remain stuck in their old ways. Just having knowledge isn't enough. Learning is only useful if you put it into practice. Assume a leadership position if you read anything about it. Get some real-life practice in if you're a communication major. The more you put it into practice, the more you'll learn. Surrounding oneself with others who push one to improve is another essential component of lifelong learning. There is no space for you here if you happen to be the brightest bulb in the box. Motivate yourself to dream larger, take greater risks, and achieve more by observing the people around you. To help you go outside of your comfort zone, look for a mentor, join a mastermind group, and participate in thought-provoking conversations. Having a good mentor was crucial to the development of many of the most accomplished people in history. They realized that by taking advice from an expert, they may avoid making the same mistakes over and over again. Facing setbacks head-on is an essential component of any learning journey that lasts a lifetime. For fear of seeming stupid or making a fool of themselves, many individuals put off expanding their knowledge. However, setbacks provide valuable insights. A person learns more from their errors as they make more of them. Take a look at how kids figure out how to walk. Before they get it right, they mess up hundreds of times. The fact that they refuse to accept defeat as final proof keeps them going. As a component of their education, they see it constructively. Taking on the same mentality can help you succeed in whatever you put your mind to. Make mistakes quickly, gain knowledge quickly, and press on. Establishing concrete objectives is another effective method for self-discipline. Give additional specifics, rather than just stating that you wish to learn more. Make a plan for the next 6 months to learn something new. Organize your learning into little chunks and tackle them one at a time. Aim for 30 minutes of daily practice if you want to acquire a second language. Establish a regular study routine if you want to master any field. Education must not be haphazard. It has to be a regular, scheduled component of your day. The capacity to learn, adapt, and evolve is, ultimately, the key to your success in life. Remaining still will get you nowhere in this world. Those that have an inquisitive mind and strive for personal growth will be rewarded. Everything is possible if you train your mind to learn new things, put that information to use, and never stop improving. Acquiring new knowledge throughout one's life should not be considered an extravagance. To have an influence, achieve success, and live a life of meaning, it is essential. How serious are you about making a commitment? A person's intellect is their most valuable asset. A single idea is the starting point for any endeavor, no matter how big or little. Your life is defined by your thoughts. Mind discipline is the key to mastery over your thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and future. Your life will be aimless and unfocused if you let your mind to operate on autopilot, swayed by distractions, unpleasant emotions, and bad decisions. It is up to you to decide. We have covered 7 key areas of thought that may change your life along this trip. Our first step was to reprogram our brains by realizing that we are responsible for the thoughts and ideas that enter them, and that we can change our reality by doing so. After realizing that concentration is a superpower in this distracted environment, we shifted our emphasis to mastering attention. We discussed emotional discipline, the realization that our responses, rather than external events, determine our fate. As we delved into the topic of strategic thinking, we came to understand that getting ahead requires more than simply putting in long hours. It also requires planning ahead and making calculated decisions. We learned to bounce back from adversity and see failure as a necessary part of the learning process, which helped us become more resilient. By training ourselves to balance gut feelings with rational thought, we became experts at making decisions that propel us forward. Lastly, we fully committed to the principle of lifelong learning, knowing that success is fleeting and that the only way to really stand out is to constantly challenge ourselves. The important thing to consider is how you'll put this information to use. A lot of people read about something, but they never do anything with it. They peruse inspirational materials, take mental notes, but they never put what they learn into practice. Avoid becoming that person. You need to put these ideas into practice every single day if you want to discipline your thoughts and transform your life. Though it may take some time for your thoughts to shift, you will get closer to mastery with each baby step you take. If you want to improve your attention, emotional regulation, decision-making, or reading habits, start with 1. Make a pact to work on one thing at a time. Consistent little efforts provide enormous payoffs in the long run. Success does not come down to innate ability, brains, or chance. The key is self-control. Having the self-control to think creatively, overcome challenges, and progress through life's lessons. Because they give in to fear, distraction, and complacency, most individuals never really reach their full potential. Those, however, who regulate their thoughts are able to climb above. Where others see challenges, they perceive possibilities. Even when everyone else gives up, they keep going. They keep learning even when everyone else stops. Something is up for grabs today. You are free to treat this like any other piece of data that you take in and then disregard. Another option is to decide to put your new knowledge into action. Knowledge is not a determinant of success. The key is to apply your knowledge effectively. Begin immediately. Awaken your intellect. Get a handle on your ideas. Restrict your thoughts. Life will be brought into order by you. Because ultimately, those who are masters of their thoughts are masters of everything. Is it something you're willing to consider?